Well, welcome everyone to the Iowa Hunger Coalition May 2026 monthly meetup. My name is Luke Elzinga. I am the Policy and Advocacy Manager at the DMARC Food Pantry Network in Des Moines, and also currently serve as the board chair of the Iowa Hunger Coalition. Thanks for coming to our meetup. I think most of you are familiar with the Hunger Coalition, but just a quick refresher. We are a membership-based 501c4 organization, have a volunteer board of directors, no paid staff, but we do work with John and Cindy Peterson as our contract lobbyists. And we really try to bring individuals and organizations together to address food insecurity and build equitable food systems in Iowa through advocacy, education, and policy change. These are IHC's mission and guiding principles. These were crafted about 2 years ago with input from all of our members. Our mission is working to end hunger in Iowa through education, advocacy, and policy change rooted in justice. And our guiding principles are hunger is a policy choice, nutritious food is a human right, and ending hunger requires solidarity, not just charity. If you want to learn more about those three guiding principles, you can just visit iowahungercoalition.org. There's more right there on the homepage about our guiding principles. All right, so first, we are going to do kind of a state legislative wrap up. The state legislative session is over, and just really wanted to say thank you to all of our advocates. We had really one of our most successful state legislative sessions in recent years. And so I want to, just huge appreciation to all of you, all of our advocates, our coalition partners. We had our first day on the Hill this year that I think was really successful. There's a picture here from that. And just thank you all for showing up at the Capitol, calling your legislators, sending emails, showing up at town halls, even just sharing, news and updates with your friends and neighbors about what is going on and how they can help. So just really thank you so much. This is truly a team effort. And we did have some pretty significant wins this year. So celebrating those shared advocacy wins, again, I want to stress Hunger Coalition does all of our work in coalition. We are not solely responsible for these shared wins. We work with a lot of other partners and advocates on these priorities. A big one for us this year, a big win, something that we've been working on, I'm not sure how many years, well over 6, is a $1 million appropriation for the Double Up Food Bucks program. And that was included in a final budget bill this year. And so that was really great to see the state investing in Double Up Food Bucks. For those of you who are not familiar with the program, it's a nutrition incentive program for SNAP. It is not entirely statewide at this point. I think it's in 76 counties, maybe. It's not at every SNAP retailer. It's at a lot of farmers markets. I think it's at every fairway in the state. But when people use their SNAP benefits to purchase fresh fruits and vegetables at a Double Up Food Bucks approved retailer, they can actually get some more benefits that can only be used to purchase fresh fruits and vegetables. So it's a way to kind of bring down the cost of those items in a way through those kind of matching dollars and help incentivize the purchase of fruits and vegetables, and also has some things built in that tries to increase the amount of local produce that is being purchased by SNAP participants. So that was a really big win for us. You should all be proud. Give yourself a pat on the back. Another really big win this year were state investments in local food purchasing programs. We maintained a $200,000 appropriation for the Choose Iowa Food Bank purchasing program. And with the Iowa Farm Act, we saw the creation of the Choose Iowa School Purchasing Program, which had been a pilot program 2 years ago, didn't get funded last year. And so we were really excited to see that fund not only be created, but actually have some funding put toward it. So that was really good to see $200,000 for food banks and $200,000 for schools through those local investment or through those state investments in local food purchasing programs. Third, administrative funding for SNAP and summer EBT. A big win for us is summer EBT. But just because the state says they're going to do it, we know that the work isn't over. We've got to make sure that the agency has the funding to administer the program, and also some changes from HR 1, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act last year, made some changes to basically the funding formula for SNAP and how much states have to pay. That means that this legislative session, our state needed to make up about $10 million in administrative funding for SNAP. And the administrative funding for summer EBT was about 1.7 million. And so going into the session, honestly, I was going to count it as a win if we got this administrative funding for SNAP and summer EBT and defended programs from attacks, knowing that this was a very tight budget year. Additional investments were going to be very hard to win, but we did it. We got the $1 million for Double Up and the $200,000 for schools and $200,000 for food banks and the administrative funding for SNAP and summer EBT. So that's again why I think this was a really significant legislative session for us. And again, thank you all for your work. I also wanted to highlight the fact that, yes, we always have, some positive things we're working on, and then we're always playing some defense too. So we did defend Iowa's nutrition programs from some of the most harmful proposed changes. There were a couple harmful changes that did make it through, and I'll touch on those next. But the big ones that we defeated, there was a proposed ban for non-citizens for WIC that would have affected pregnant mothers, young children, and would have taken food away from thousands of kids across the state. We defeated that. Another one was a 12-month residency requirement for public assistance programs that would have required people to live in Iowa a year before they could ever apply for SNAP or Medicaid or anything like that. That is illegal, but we did defeat that. And then lastly, there was a proposal to rewrite Iowa's school nutrition standards, which we had also dealt with last year, and that was defeated as well. So some of the most harmful proposals that were put forth, we did successfully defeat. So thank you again all for all your advocacy this session, some really significant wins, and building really on years of advocacy that we have been doing. This didn't happen overnight. This was because of all the ground that you've all laid over the years. So those are the big wins. Also want to recognize a few of the losses too, just because it wasn't a complete 100% success. And these are things we're going to be needing to all follow over the next year as they are implemented. Probably the worst piece we saw was codifying Iowa's SNAP restriction waiver and making summer EBT contingent upon having a waiver. I will say some of the language as it was written is a little messy. I think a future governor could interpret some of the language in a certain way and still have summer EBT while maybe rolling back some of these restrictions. This was included in the Iowa Make America Healthy Again Act, the Iowa MAHA Act. Word is RFK Jr. is in the state today for a bill signing. So we expect that the Iowa MAHA Act will be signed today, and RFK Jr. will be there for the bill signing. And that is the bill that codifies Iowa SNAP restriction waiver. Also does some other things like over-the-counter ivermectin. So there's a lot in that bill. That was the main piece we were concerned about. And then these next three pieces were all included in Senate File 2422, which was kind of deemed the welfare reform bill this session. That was one that had the WIC ban, the 12-month residency, a lot of bad things. We got some of the bad things out, but the three, harmful policies that did make it through. One is a change to SNAP that will reduce benefit amounts for mixed status immigrant households. It's super in the weeds, but right now, if my partner is undocumented and I have a kid and I apply for SNAP, my partner is not eligible for SNAP, but myself and my kid are. That partner's income is basically prorated because they can't receive benefits. This would basically require them to count their full income. And so what this will do in effect is reduce the amount of benefits that mixed status immigrant households can receive. Another harmful proposal was a waiver request for a 3-month expungement of benefits. This would require USDA granting a waiver to the state of Iowa to do. And so we don't know for sure that they will grant that. But what this would do is it would allow Iowa HHS to expunge benefits from someone's EBT account after 3 months of program inactivity or of benefits remaining. And we think this is really harmful. I mean, I think there's legitimate reasons why people might save their benefits, especially if they're just getting a minimum benefit and maybe want to save that up so they can, spend more on a holiday meal or something like that. This also is really concerning with that or of benefits remaining piece. And specifically, like, we don't know what that means. If I'm carrying over a balance for 3 months because I have 50 cents left over, are they going to expunge all of my benefits? Are they just going to expunge, the 50 cents from 3 months ago that I carried over? It's really unclear how they plan to implement this. Another piece that's concerning, paired with summer EBT, the way that summer EBT works with those additional benefits, because for SNAP, it's a 9-month expungement of benefits right now. Current practice is 9 months. So if you don't use your benefits at all for 9 months, they can expunge them. This would move it to 3 months. But for summer EBT, it's 122 days. And the way summer EBT benefits work is they are loaded onto cards and are spent down first. So let's say someone in June gets some additional summer EBT benefits for their children. When they are spending benefits at the store, those summer EBT funds will be spent first. And so what this could mean is maybe people have a little extra in the summer and they're thinking, okay, this is good. I'll use these up first. It'll carry over a little longer. And then suddenly find out, boom, some of their June benefits just disappeared because they got expunged after 3 months. So I think this is really concerning. This is one that advocates will really need to be following as this is implemented, if USDA even grants this waiver. And maybe we can do some advocacy discouraging USDA from granting this waiver. And then finally, codifying some harmful SNAP eligibility changes from HR 1. These do not change current practice. They basically just, so for instance, HR 1 banned refugees from receiving SNAP. Senate File 2422 codifies that in Iowa code that we are banning refugees. They did not have to do this. We follow federal code. They did not all have to go on the record voting to ban refugees from SNAP. They did. And so if that changed federally, we would have to change our code. There's really no reason for them to do this other than to make a political point and maybe have something on a mailer. Okay. I know I kind of talked a lot about a lot of different things there, so I'm going to pause for questions and check the chat. how can we track how our respective elected officials voted on these wins? That is a great question, and maybe that's something we could kind of just put together across these different bills, kind of send out the roll call vote of who voted for what. That is definitely something we could put together. Yeah, and I appreciate your comments there too, Ron. And just a note on Double Up, we have had the program in Iowa for about 10 years. We've just never had state investment. So it's federal funding and private funding. During the pandemic, they did direct some CARES Act funding to Double Up, and we saw an expansion, but then a contraction as those went away. So yes, this also could allow us to have a greater match from the federal government with that state investment too. So any other questions? I will pause if anyone wants to come off mute or post in the chat.
So, Luke, would you just reiterate again? So we've had federal investment in SNAP. We now have also state investment. How does that compare over the last couple of years in terms of how many dollars are available for Double Up support?
Yeah. So I would need, and I am not 100% the expert on Double Up Food Bucks. That program is administered by the Iowa Healthiest State Initiative. And so maybe we could even invite them to present on a future call to answer some more of these questions. I'm actually not sure on the total Double Up Food Bucks budget and kind of how that works in with this next year. So I can get more of that information, but on the SNAP side and the changes there, so just a bit of a refresher. Right now, the state pays half of the administrative costs. In October 1st, because of changes from HR 1, we're going to pay 75%. So that means the state needed to come up with a basically additional $10 million for the next budget year to cover that. If we can avoid a fine, this is wonky, but there's this other piece tied to the benefit amounts, which historically the federal government has paid 100% of those. HR 1 made some changes and have tied how much a state has to pay to their SNAP payment error rate. Iowa HHS has said that Iowa is at 5.3%, which is less than the 6% we need to stay under to avoid basically a $26 million fine. Those payment error rates, the official USDA payment error rates, will be published in about a month at the end of June. And then we will actually know, were we below that 6%, or did we go right above it? And that will make a huge difference, I think, of even what we're looking at next legislative session. If Iowa goes above 6% for the payment error rate, and we are on the hook for that 26 million, I think we could see some big attacks on SNAP next year. If we stay underneath, maybe those are not as pronounced. But I think all of this puts pressure on the state budget, not just for SNAP, but for all of our other priorities, including Double Up Food Bucks. And so also the fact that we are just seeing enrollment decline so much, that means less people being eligible for SNAP and being able to participate in Double Up Food Bucks. And we're certainly seeing that at food pantries of more people turning to assistance as they're losing access to SNAP. That was rambly. I hope I answered that question. Okay,
No,
Jan.
that's good. I remember you saying early in the session that it would be important for IHHS to be able to get their budget request for improved and updated software so that that can support their maintaining. And how did that come out?
Great question, Jan. Thank you, because I forgot to mention that. So there was included in forget if it was the HHS or the Technology Reinvestment Fund budget, $10 million to Iowa HHS for their new computer eligibility system that is set to launch next year. The initial request had been 20. And so the, you know, the 10, it was lower than that, half of that. But there were some other pieces in a different budget bill that redirected more money to the Technology Reinvestment Fund for eligibility programs. So I'm waiting to see the final, it's called the NOBA, like Notes on Bills and Amendments from LSA, that has the more detailed, like, here's how the costs are broke down. I think it's possible that they actually got more than the 20. It was just split up into these two buckets and they got 10 from one and then some additional dollars from another. So, but there was investment in the state for that IT upgrade. All right. Well, I am going to move on unless there's any other questions.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
Luke, and I don't know if this, how accurate this is, but I also thought with the IT funds that there was opportunity for federal match, like, so I don't know what the total cost is, but, you know, I don't know what that percentage is. For some reason, I thought that if it were, if some of it was used for Medicaid, there was a higher reimbursement for that
Yeah.
from Medicaid.
Yeah, you're correct, Kelly. But yeah, I don't know how that all works because my understanding was for this new Eden eligibility system they're working on, it's specifically SNAP, TANF or FIP, and refugee cash assistance. So I don't know that they would be able to use the Medicaid rate for that project, but good question that I think we can follow up on with the department, just, you know, trying to understand how those two budget bills play together. Any other questions?
Luke, hi. I put a question in the chat. It's the crystal ball question. Like, could you speak to what next year might look like with potential change in with the governor and the primaries and House and Senate seats flipping?
Yeah, no, thank you, Katie. And this is all just my personal opinion and guessing. So, you know, we've got the primaries coming up at the start of June. And so in a few weeks, we'll have a better sense of what that general election slate looks like. You know, who's going to be running for Senate, who's going to be running for governor at the top of the ticket and everything. So, we should have a better sense then. Obviously, Rob Sand is the only Democrat in the primary, so he will be, you know, the Democratic candidate for governor. The Republican side, you know, they have a contested primary. Randy Feenstra is kind of the favorite. He also has not been really participating in any of the debates or anything. And I know the other candidates have been hitting him hard on that. So there's also Adam Steen, Zach Lane, Eddie Andrews, and Brad Sherman, who are running for governor in addition to Randy Feenstra. I'm not going to take a guess on that one. We'll wait and see, I guess. You know,
He's got Trump money going behind him, and that's also why he's not going into the debates either. He knows he'll be tore up there, and he feels that since he's got the money, he doesn't need to do any other proving. Apparently, all he has to do is say Trump, and the people will follow.
I think you're right, Ron. He was at the White House last night while everyone else was doing a debate. And I think he's seeing that there's really nothing to gain from him participating in a debate, only potentially damaging. So that will be a curious one to see. I think, you know, on the Senate side, Zach Walz and Josh Turek are in a heated primary. Things have been getting a little messy there. we will wait and see on that. Ashley Hinson, I presume, will be the Republican candidate. And then with the congressional races, the third district, Sarah Trungaria is the only candidate who's on the Democratic side. She's running against Zach Nunn. Fourth district, I should know better, but I know that there's multiple candidates on both sides for the primary. And that's true of the second as well. Or maybe I'm confusing that with the first. If there's, I live in the third district, so I know it much better than the other ones. So if anyone wants to give an update on any of the others, feel free. But I think we saw a number of things from our state legislature that seek to curb the governor's powers. And for the past 10 years or so, it's been very much the opposite direction. How, the legislature basically ceding its authority to the governor on some instances, or giving the governor more power. And now we are seeing this past session, even that SNAP restriction waiver, they were talking about that last year. And I know that part of that motivation was trying, if Rob Sand is elected governor, basically trying to hold that program hostage to say, hey, you can't walk away from this waiver or you would walk away from summer EBT. That was not the only, there were multiple bills this year that seek to curb the governor's power. And so I think there's a sense that Democrats have a real shot at the governor's race this year. We will see how that all pans out. And so I think probably be able to, middle of November, kind of talk through kind of what this looks like. If we have split government, it's going to continue to be not looking pretty with our state budget. And, for the past 8 years or so, Republicans have just been saying, oh, everything's fine. We've got, the surplus. And projections aren't looking great. So we might see suddenly a tune change and everyone worrying about spending and how do we cut spending. And that could be something we face, next year as it relates to SNAP or other programs. I don't want to speculate too much just because I don't have that level of confidence in my own read on this and thought there are much more astute political observers in the state than me. So, but yeah, thanks for that question, Katie, and I hopefully semi answered it.
In Iowa District 4, there's only been Republican commercials broadcast. I could also say there's a lot of soybean farmers in my district that aren't really amused right now. They've had to buy a lot of extra grain silos to be able to store the soybeans that they were not able to sell to China. That's put a hurt on some of their pocketbooks. At the same time, I got a feeling, at least in my district, the Dems almost don't have enough money available to be able to advertise or even get their message out. Believe me, little blue dots like me in this vast sea of red, we tend to die of loneliness. But I honestly believe that if we could actually get Sand in the governor's seat, it'd be great to have an auditor do those books that Kimmy's been doing for the last so many years, and just to see what other things will be dug up by then. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron, for the 4th district update. Is anyone from 1st or 2nd district want to weigh in on those races at all? All right. Otherwise, we will know more after primary day, and maybe next month we can do a kind of a bit of an update on where the general election stands. All right, well, I'm gonna move
I-
into,
Can I jump in real quickly?
Yeah.
I was just going to add on to that we listened just a little bit this morning to a recording of the Republican candidates debate that I think was last night. So just reminding everyone to sort of listen into the messaging and look for those nuggets that relate to these kinds of values and initiatives. And if they are in your area, like either before for the primary or after the primary, and hold those candidates accountable and keep advocating when we've got those kinds of opportunities.
100%. Yes, thank you, Jan. And, just a reminder, we are nonpartisan. We advocate on the issues. And that means we try to hold all politicians accountable, regardless of their party. And, I will just say Rob Sand has made a comment on the campaign trail about being in favor of SNAP restrictions. He's got some educating to be done. So please, following the primary, even leading up to it, this is a really important time to be engaging with those candidates, getting them on the record for what their plan is to address hunger and food insecurity in the state. So yes, thank you for that reminder, Jan. Maybe we can touch on that a bit more next month too, just around engaging leading up to the general election. All right. So I'm going to briefly do some federal updates. Update on the Farm Bill, and I'm sorry you haven't heard more from us on this. There was a lot going on with the end of state legislative session. So if you have been following this at all, you may know already, but on April 30, the House did pass a farm bill with a vote of 224 to 200. It did have bipartisan support. The future of the farm bill is unclear in the Senate, where it will require 60 votes, unless this is looped into reconciliation again, like some of the pieces were last year. They do need to pass some farm bill by September 30th, whether that's a new farm bill or a continuing resolution, also known as a CR, basically what we did years previous. But I do want to say, this farm bill really lacks solid investment in SNAP. It does nothing to reverse the harmful cuts from HR 1. The Democrats have been trying to press Republicans to even just on one piece, delaying that cost shift to states for 2 years. And again, this is in the weeds, but if states are under 6%, they don't have to pay anything. And then it kind of is tiered up to, paying 15% of the cost. But if states have a payment error rate above 13.3%, they actually don't have to pay anything till 2029 or 2030. So this is where, and really that was to get Senator Murkowski's vote. Alaska has a very, very high payment error rate. There's some reasons for that I can go into if people are curious. But really, we've been trying to press the Senate offices on delaying that cost shift to put all states on an even playing field. And even that has been hard to get the support of our senators. I heard a piece on IPR last week with Senator Grassley talking specifically about this and saying, oh, these Democrats just want to delay this because they want all this fraud. And yeah. So that's where things stand in the Senate. I know Senator Klobuchar, has brought this up of this cost shift delay as being a major piece for the Dems needing to get their support. So we will see how that plays out. I do encourage you to contact your senators and ask them to delay that SNAP cost shift to put all states on an even playing field. I can send out kind of like a sample script if people would like. But again, we're not pressing them like an all-out blitz or anything right now, but it is helpful if they hear from constituents about this. We could also see their tune change if Iowa goes above 6%. Our senators have been saying how, Iowa's doing this and all these other states are worried, but like we're doing so well. If we are on the hook for potentially 26 million, maybe that tune will change a little bit. We'll see. I'm still very hopeful we'll stay under 6%. I'm going to bring up the chat real quick just to make sure I'm not missing anything. Grassley will be in Manly May 29. Great. Jan, I will definitely reach out. Another thing, we've mentioned this for a few months now, a potential rule change coming from the Trump administration regarding broad-based categorical eligibility. This is a really wonky policy thing. Basically, it allows the state of Iowa to set our income eligibility for SNAP at 160% of the federal poverty level, which is above 130%, which is the federal floor. It's also used currently to eliminate the asset test, but if the Trump administration pushes through a rule change that eliminates broad-based categorical eligibility, that would kick over 22,000 Iowans off SNAP. Over half of them are children and seniors. And it would also threaten our payment error rate, because right now our payment error rate when we're looking at assets is 0. We don't ask the question, so we don't even get an error on it. If we start asking that question, that is going to introduce errors. And that could push us above 6%, putting the state on the hook for millions. USDA Secretary Brooke Rollins has been calling BBCE fraud. And so we will be pushing back on this and have kind of a blog post that we are preparing as well. All right. That was all state and federal updates. Now a bit more of a coalition and personal update. If you did not see my email, I will be stepping down from the Iowa Hunger Coalition board next month. My last day at DMARC is June 19. I will be moving actually up to Alaska, where I have a job in Anchorage starting in July. And I just really wanted to say thank you to all the amazing advocates. This work is not always easy, and having this coalition just has kept me going. And I appreciate you all so much. Also wanted to share our leadership transition. So hopefully you recognize all the beautiful people on this slide. These are all current board members who will kind of be stepping up. And so Paige Chickering, who is currently our vice chair, is going to be our interim chair. John Bowler, who is currently our secretary, is going to be our interim vice chair. And then Nicole McAlexander is going to be our interim secretary, and she's been our secretary before. Just want to say thank you to Paige and John and Nicole, the entire Hunger Coalition board, and our network of supporters. I feel really confident in kind of the next steps for IHC because we have such strong leadership on our board. I also want to extend an invitation for you all to consider applying to join IHC's board of directors. We are seeking applicants from a variety of racial, geographic, and professional backgrounds. We're particularly looking for people with lived experience with hunger and food insecurity. With my departure, we're looking to fill some specific knowledge gaps around advocacy or lobbying on the state and federal level related to nutrition policy or not, communications and media relations training, and then kind of similar to that first bullet point, lived experience with hunger and food insecurity, direct service experience, food access programs or organizations, whether that's working or volunteering at a food pantry, but kind of having that lived experience as well. And even if you don't fall neatly into one of these categories and you are interested in applying and support the organization and the work, we would really love to see you apply. And a little more details on that. And I'm sorry, I could not help myself with the Ed and Eddie meme. But encourage folks to apply by Friday, June 5. which is in a couple weeks. All you have to do is email Iowa Hunger that's not our email address, it's our website, iowahungercoalition@gmail.com, with the subject line board application, and include a copy of your resume, and then just write out 2 short answers to the following questions. Why does hunger exist? And why do you want to join IHC's board of directors? And then our board will be reviewing candidates and making some decisions shortly after that. And we hope to have a new board in place by the end of June. And then we will do some new officer elections. So the folks I just named in the previous slide, those are our interim roles. When we have our new board, we'll be kind of redoing those officer elections as well. So if you have any questions about joining the board, please reach out, iowahungercoalition@gmail.com. Reach out to me. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. And then also wanted to encourage you all, this December, IHC will be celebrating our 10th anniversary. This is a link to a partner survey. We did this last year as well. We've added a few more questions just to try and get your feedback. What are we doing well? Where can we improve? What would you like to see from our monthly meetups? We are really hoping to have a full calendar of monthly meetups for the next year, developed, planned out. And so would really appreciate your feedback on what you'd like to see from those, and potentially the format changing to be more interactive and less of a kind of one-way update. So please fill out the survey. There's a QR code here. We will send some email reminders. That's also closing on June 5. So another way to just help steer the direction of the future of IHC. All right, I am going to open it up for any questions. Oh, thank you, everyone. I'm reading the chat. Well, I figured we wouldn't take the full hour today because we had a shorter agenda than we sometimes do. But yeah, thank you all. I will be here for next month's monthly meetup, but I think we might have someone else running it because that's like my second to last day, and I'm probably going to be like maybe not fully checked out, but so I will be there. If anyone's going to be at the Farm and Food Conference in Waterloo next month, I'll be attending that and would love to see you. But otherwise, yeah, if you're in Des Moines before the end of June, let me know. I'd love to grab coffee or lunch or something. So. All right. Well, thank you all. Thank you again for all your advocacy this session. Seriously, we did better than I expected. So that's usually not the case. So just thank you all. And again, encourage you to submit a board application, provide feedback on that survey. Just reach out if you have any input on kind of what you'd like to see from IHC in the future. And yes, Roberta, there is the Iowa Farm and Food Conference, June 11 and 12 in Waterloo. I'm hoping someone who's more involved in the planning of that can take over. I'll try to find a link real quick. The registration, oh good, Jody is finishing chewing something and then can.
Yeah, so I am on the planning committee for the Iowa Food and Farm Conference. So it is in Waterloo, June 11th and 12th. Yes, if we can get the website link in there, that's your best place for information. But registration does close May 31st. So get registered ASAP. But option of attending, all day Thursday and Friday. Thursday only is we're doing field trips. There's 3 different options of places that you can see. there's a community dinner at Single Speed that people can register and come to that only. And then more conference-like style on Friday for breakout sessions, mini sessions, a lot of people around the state, and then also some national speakers coming in too.
Awesome. Thank you. And I saw John shared that in the chat. I will also do a quick plug for the Iowa Culinary Conference, which is, I think, in Coralville, Iowa City in June. So I'm going to get this wrong, but I can't attend that one. I think it's in July. But Sean Sherman, the sous chef, there's some other chefs who are going to be attending, very focused on kind of farm to school stuff. So, yeah, I think if you search Iowa Culinary Conference, you can probably find that one as well. I should have had a slide for both of these, but whoops. Oh, and thank you, John. Yes, John's my link hero today. All right. Well, happy summer. Happy no longer having the state legislative session going. And yeah, maybe we'll see some interesting bill signing news today. I don't know. Yeah. All right. Well, you've all got 12 minutes of your time back this morning. Good to see you all.
Thank you, Luke.
Bye.